Hello, I'm Hal Ottaway with the Wichita Postcard Club, and it's time for another postcard of the week. And this week I have a humdinger to show you. First of all, I'm going to show the address side of this postcard, and I'm going to do some explaining. Usually, when I show you folks postcards, I'm talking about a postcard where you would have had to have licked a stamp and put it in that upper right corner and put it in the mail. But this is different. This is a governmental postal card, TAL, POSTAL, postal card. And this is different in that the uh, amount of postage is printed on the postcard when that card is made ready to sell to big consumers, mailers, and so forth, just like this company, this service station, gasoline station, bought these cards at the post office. Actually, I've seen them where they came in big sheets, and I can't remember how many cards, but I'm going to say like 20 or 25 postal cards would have been in the big sheet that you could buy at the window of a big post office and then take it to your printer and get your message and everything printed. Then the printer would cut them up into postcard sizes. But that's another story. This postal card is something that I collect. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but that's okay. I include postal cards in my postcard collection, and that's just my choice. This one you can see was handled by the mail in 1940, just 1 year and plus a day after Pearl Harbor. But this was before Pearl Harbor on June 7th, 1940. In Oklahoma City, it started out at 6 a.m. And then you can see that the address here was written by the people at the service station. And instead of writing out Oklahoma, so they just said city. And it got to the people that the carrier probably that knows that address, and he knew the people that live there, and he could just make a line through it, and even went so far to add that it was they now had moved and now lived on Route 3 in Edmond, Oklahoma. All that happened within the first 3 hours after this was first postmarked there that early that morning on June 7th. And the top part of the postal card shows the machine cancel, and this lower part of the postal card shows a hand cancel. That it was really, it was kind of hooked onto the end of a hammer. I've seen them using hand cancels doing, big batches of mail and so forth at the post office. But now let's turn the postal card over. And here's the good part. Back then in 1940, before World War II, you could buy a gallon of gas for 11.9 cents a gallon. That's almost 12 cents. But that, like my friend said, who's worked in a post or in a gas station, uh, and earlier parts of his life, gas was always sold at 11.9 or, a tenth of a cent more, or just less than the next amount for the gallon. It's interesting for several reasons. This was Clary's super service, they said. They were in Oklahoma City on Northeast 23rd Street, and neighbors and friends and people who are familiar with that station would be able to help me tell a lot more about this. It's interesting to me that they had Phillips 66, Mobil Gas, Champlin, and Conoco gasoline. And then they come down Motor Oils Wholesale. Perhaps they sold the oil from these different uh, oil companies. And I don't know if they also had different gasoline brands there too. Somebody who's interested and knows about Clary would be able to tell me right off. But they were a full service station. Read this. It said terms on all wrecks rebuilding, paint jobs, brakes, and motor repair. They did it all. They took care of their customers for sure. And in those years leading up to the war and all during the war, there was a lot of saving, there was a lot of reusing, making things last longer because you couldn't buy, uh, some of these things like tires and batteries and gasoline itself in huge quantities like you'd been able to before. But this is just a nice piece of history from the pre-war years in 1940, and I hope you like it. And it's something that appeals to me not only in my World War II postcard collection, but just in Oklahoma City history and so forth. Several years ago, I was lucky to do 3 different books on Oklahoma City postcards with my friend Jim Edwards, who had the Appalachie Bookshop. I know I'm going off in the weeds, but we had a lot of fun learning more about Oklahoma City history in those years that I was living down there. Well, one last thing. It said that they did give S&H green stamps, and this was a trading stamp. It was an incentive to come and do business there. And depending on the total of how much money you spent, they would tear out of a big book uh, these S&H green stamps that then you got to lick into a book. And once you got a book filled, or 10 books filled, say, then you were able to trade them in for maybe a toaster or maybe somebody's iron, or it could have been anything, maybe a coloring book or stuff for kids. So anyway, they appeal to a real wide uh, group of people and customers, and obviously were successful during that time period. Well, thanks for everything, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week with still another postcard. Bye bye.